It's now been 4 months since the Writers Guild of America decided to strike. And this week, the striking writers decided to unleash their fury outside CBS Studios against an actress, Drew Barrymore. Now, Barrymore had previously declined to host an MTV award show to basically support the strike back in May. Yet she announced just this past weekend that she will be bringing back the Drew Barrymore Show, which apparently is a thing. I didn't know that it existed. But she's bringing it back amid the Hollywood writers and actors strike, prompting protests and picketing from the Writers Guild of America, of course. And so her show isn't like part of the strike, but it's a little tricky because there are writers who work on the show who are striking. So here's what she said in a statement on Instagram. I made a choice to walk away from the MTV Film and Television Awards because I was the host and it had a direct conflict with what the strike was dealing with, which was studios, streamers, film, and television. It was also in the first week of the strike, and so I did what I thought was the appropriate thing at the time to stand in solidarity with the writers. And to be clear, our talk show actually wrapped on April 20th, so we never had to shut down the show. However, I am also making the choice to come back for the first time in this strike for our show that may have my name on it, but this is bigger than just me, she says. Finally, she says that she owns this choice. I want to be there to provide what writers do so well, which is a way to bring us together to help us make sense of the human experience. I hope for a resolve for everyone as soon as possible. We have navigated difficult times since we first came on air, and so I take a step forward to start season 4 once again with an astute humility. Woz, what do you think?
Look, if there are union writers, WGA members on her staff, and she's bringing back the show without those people who are on strike because they're part of the WGA, meaning she's bringing back the show with scabs. This is just a blatant stab in the back and a lack of solidarity. There's no other way to put it. Now, if her show existed in such a way that it didn't have WGA members and it had a bunch of craftspeople who weren't part of the union, and she was like, look, I wanna pay my people to work and they're not part of this union, and so I'm coming back, I might be able to understand that. But if you're gonna bring in scabs to replace your union workers, this is just low down, dirty, rotten scoundrel stuff. Like, this is one of the most successful actresses of our time. And she's not some newbie, she's not some upstart. She's not like trying to get her foot in the door. She is rich. There's no two ways about this. So the idea that she would do this, man, in direct, opposition to her fellow actors, actresses, and writers is quite shameful, honestly.
It really is. And so, look, when it comes to the strike, obviously there are two unions in question, right? There's SAG-AFTRA, and then there's the Writers Guild of America. So what she would do in bringing the show back wouldn't, at all conflict with SAG-AFTRA. In fact, SAG-AFTRA put out a statement. Let me read it to you. They say the Drew Barrymore Show is produced under the Network Television Code, which is a separate contract and is not struck. It is permissible work and Drew's role as host does not violate the current strike rules. However, there's also the Writers Guild of America. They are also on strike, and she does in fact have writers on that show who are part of that union. And so the Writers Guild of America is not happy about this, which is part of the reason why they're now protesting in front of CBS Studios. And they also put out on the platform X, the Drew Barrymore Show is a WGA covered struck show that is planning to return without its writers. The Guild has and will continue to picket struck shows that are in production during the strike. Any writing on the Drew Barrymore Show is in violation of WGA strike rules. Look, I'm gonna confess, and I'm saying this because I could be wrong in my thoughts. I have not watched the Drew Barrymore Show. I didn't know the Drew Barrymore Show was actually a thing. But if it is in fact a talk show, What if she brought it back without any writers at all? I mean, it's a talk show, right? So like, what exactly is she reading? What exactly are they writing? I mean, look, not to downgrade what the writers are doing. I'm sure that they have an important job, but couldn't she just do the talk show without a script? Is that possible? And if she did do that, would that be okay? What do you think, Woz?
I guess she probably could, but I would imagine that there were writers on that show for a reason, right? It's because they brought something to the very nature of the show, and that's why they were hired to be on there. So I guess she could sort of worm her way through that loophole, and maybe her show would not be any different for it. I don't know. I just know, just in spirit, it's just, I don't know, it leaves a poor taste in everybody's mouth that somebody this successful already in their careers feels a need to go against the WGA in this way. And full disclosure, so that people know, I myself am a member of the WGA East. I am a WGA union member under my contract with The Ringer and Spotify as a media writer. So yes, I obviously have my own biases and allegiances in this fight. I just think this is corny. I just don't see why she would have to do this.
Yeah, and I want to read a quote from Krista Kinnan, who is the co-head writer for the Drew Barrymore Show, and I think she's exactly right in what she says here. She says, the reality is that, you stand with the unions or you don't, and everybody is allowed to make that decision for herself. I know that there's a lot that goes into it, especially when your name is on the show and you're in charge of a lot of people, and you have to make the decision that feels right for you. For her, it was to go back. For the writers, it's to stand with our union because we believe in what we're striking for, and we believe we deserve a fair deal. And so, yeah, look, I do think, just to be fair, I do think that it's a more difficult question, right? It's not as black and white as people want to think it is, because we're talking about workers who are not unionized mixed in with workers who are unionized. And so as the strike happens, if the show is shut down, those who are not part of a union, who need that job for their livelihoods, they're impacted by it as well. So I understand those concerns. And I understand that as the head of the show, Drew Barrymore feels a certain responsibility to those individuals. But to your point, Woz, Drew Barrymore is kind of wealthy, is she not? I mean, is there a possibility that she could maybe help those workers out as the strike continues? I don't know to what extent she'd be willing to do it, or if she'd be willing to do it at all. But if she feels that responsibility, if she really means what she's saying when she argues that this is bigger than her, then she should put her money where her mouth is, no?
Yeah, and I'm pretty sure she could find a way to fundraise for this thing amongst her Hollywood cohort. Like, it wouldn't be, like, again, the very 1% of the 1% of actors are very wealthy people. Yes, they are workers, but they are some of the most empowered workers in the economy. And yes, the very top 1% of the 1% of actors, your Tom Cruises, your Drew Barrymores, your Sandra Bullocks, your, you name it, Leonardo DiCaprio's. These people are extremely wealthy, and I'm sure she could raise some funds amongst her cohort to get this going. And I'm not here to tell these people what to do with their time and what to do with their, with their money and all of that. But this is a bad look. There's just no two ways about it. She's going against the unions, and she's doing it in quite a public fashion.
Absolutely. And then the final thing I'll say is, they're not allowing anyone in the live studio audience to support the strike. So apparently some of the striking workers gave two of the audience members like a pin or something like that to kind of like show support for the workers. And they got kicked out of the audience immediately. And they were pretty upset about it. So don't add insult to injury. It's already a bad look to continue with the show, even despite the strikes taking place. But no one was gonna notice the pins, right? Or if they did, it wouldn't have been that big of a deal. Kicking the two people out for wearing the pins, everyone's gonna notice that. It's gonna get publicized, we're gonna pay attention to it. So it's just, again, definitely not a good look to begin with. Kicking the audience members out who support the strike, even worse, adding insult to injury.
Thanks for watching the Young Turks. Really appreciate it. Another way to show support is through YouTube memberships. You'll get to interact with us more. There's live chat emojis, badges. You've got emojis of me, Anna, John, JR. So those are super fun. But you also get playback of our exclusive member-only shows and specials right after they air. So all of that, all you gotta do is click that join button right underneath the video. Thank you.